was having a conversation the other day, and I told that person that I think sometimes I can come off as confusing to people because how one person met me, the other person may have met me another way, or this person wouldn't know that I'm into this type of things, and vice versa. Prior to that conversation, that has been something I have come to conclusion about myself for a long time. I am so many things, and I would say that I am forever changing, but it's really not that I'm changing. You see, a lot of things that I'm into or that I'm showing that I'm into that might be new to some people, I've always been into those things. So basically, whatever I was most interested in at the time in this season, that's what I showed up as. That was the bulk of my conversation and my movement. Whatever I was into at that time reflected my lifestyle. Now here I am in another season. And for a long time, like a friend and I had this conversation probably about 2 years ago. And we were saying, is this a rebrand? Like, and then before we knew it, a lot of people was like rebranding, reintroducing themselves. And I identified with rebranding, but not 1000%. It's like, because I cannot say I'm rebranding when I've always been interested in these other things that I'm just now exposing. I knew that I was interested in other things. I knew that I had other hobbies, and there were other things that took up my time. Those things kind of took the back seat though, because I was most passionate about other things. But this is something that has been sitting in my spirit. It's been brewing, and I just felt compelled to share it, because sometimes when you are such a creative person and you are into so many things, you can come across as like, who is she? Who is she? I'm into so many things, and I cannot be boxed in, and I'm just not going to let an app make me be boxed in. So I'm just going to keep on putting out content the way I've been doing, and hopefully I find my people. I didn't know if I wanted to put this on my TikTok. I didn't know if I wanted to go live, and I ain't been live in years, or what I wanted to do. So I decided to just put it in my YouTube vlog, and I just pray that I can look back years from now, look at this video, and just see how far I've come, and just sticking to who I am instead of trying to be boxed in, because yeah, I did that. Now I did it not on purpose. That's just who I was showing up as. That was the center of my life at the time, talking about herbalism, holistic lifestyles, and low toxic lifestyle. And that is very much still so my life. Very much so still my life. You can see glimpses of it in my vlogs, but I'm so many things, and I don't want to restrict myself because I want to reach my audience. If I try to be too holistic, then it's going to just attract the holistic community, and then I don't have an outlet when I really want to kiki with some people. You know, sometimes I want to move light. It reminds me of something else. So it's this guy on Instagram, I think his name Julian Cross. He's a comedian, and he has these videos that are hilarious. He does like stand-up comedy, and he's like out in nature, and he's dressed up. Very unique approach, especially in this era. So he's doing his little comedy show, right? And so he giving a lot of gems. He putting out a lot of messages, you know what I'm saying? People might call conspiracy theories, or, you know, he's getting deep, or he's woke, you know what I'm saying? He was doing a lot of that, but he was doing it in a jokingly way. So I chose to consciously focus on the lighter side. I chose to focus on just the jokes, even though the things that he was talking about were deep. So somebody in the comment section was like, did you let all the stuff that he was saying go over your head? Like he was talking about fake food, GMO, all that type of stuff, right? So I told that person, I said, listen, I chose to listen in a lighter way. I said, for over a decade, I lived that life. You can go on my Instagram page. I lived that life. I still live that life. I talked about when nobody was listening and we were called crazy because, you know, people about the about certain bloodlines and all of the things that people are paying attention to and up in an uproar about. A lot of us who've been into this knowledge over a decade ago, we sit back like, okay, we've been knew about this stuff. We don't feel compelled to research these things or be into that. We don't want to go down the rabbit hole anymore. We went down the rabbit hole, and while we were going down the rabbit hole, we was trying to grab a hold of the people to bring them down with us, but people was so up here. And so it's great, it's beautiful that people are catching on. But I don't have a desire in this season of my life. I don't have a desire to read about any more forbidden knowledge and occult and all these secrets. And I'm not. I don't want. Girl, I am 35. When I tell you my whole 20s, my whole from 18 up until still now, because you know, of course I'm into it, but I don't go out of my way to read about it and listen to it. But I do more so of like being woke when it comes to nutrition. But all the stuff about the government and all that kind of stuff, honey, I did that. Imagine from 18 up until I'll say about 33. That is what you're consuming. That is what your interest is. You in the gym, that's what you listening to. You on your way home from the gym, that's what you listening to. While you're working, that's what you're listening to. You're taking all of that in your 20s, when everybody else was partying, everybody was doing this and doing this, you up here reading about nutrition, you reading about the government, herbalism, you are discovering history, like the true history. I did all of that in my 20s, and that is what I spoke about. I was one of those people, and some people might find my YouTube and they may remember my face and be like, I remember her talking about all of this stuff. I'm still into it. But I'm choosing to let that side take a back seat. And I'm showing up as, I don't even want to say this new version of me, but it's like a rotation. Now I'm choosing to show up in a different way. This is the center of my life now. This is who I want to show up as. I want to show up free. I don't want to be critical thinking all the time. I don't want to go so deep. Girl, I used to be the type. I would kill the vibe because I could be hanging out, chilling with folks, and it could be just light stuff, like stuff that's meant to be funny, comical. And I would be the one that's bringing up the deep stuff, and I would be the one that's messing up everybody's vibe because I want to get deep. I'm not doing that now. At least not with everybody. Now, there are certain people in my life that I can hit up and we talk and we have these hour-long conversations and stuff, but at this point in my life, I did that so much and I just want to live on a lighter side. And that can be very confusing to some people, especially when they see that you are showing up in a different way physically, when your conversations and your lingo seems to be different. It's not that it's different, it's just that I'm choosing to show another side of me. So it might seem like, oh my God, like, has she just let it go? Is she letting the holistic community go? No, I'm just not letting it consume me. That is not all of who I am, and it has never been. I ain't gonna say it ain't never been, because girl, it was at one point in my life where I was super extreme, and I say that quite often. It was some points where I was super extreme, but I had to learn balance. But I've always had these other sides to me. I don't know if I'm going to make this a separate video or if I'm going to include this in the vlog that I'm already recording. I think I'm going to make this separate, because if it starts off as a vlog, people gonna click off and they'll never get to this part of the video. And I really want people to see this part, because a lot of people may be confused about, who is Alexis? What are you really into? I will sit up and listen to somebody talk about anime. I have no interest. I can sit up and talk to you about the music industry and Egyptology and herbalism. I can talk about the marine kingdom and water spirits. I can talk about if the people went on the moon. I can talk about the Rothschilds. I can talk about CERN. I knew about CERN in 2015. I knew about CERN in 2015. And when people started talking about it, it's just like, I was so glad that people was catching on to this knowledge. But it also was like, man, like, I wish they would have known back then, because as a collective, if we all knew about that knowledge, I don't know, maybe it would have shifted the movement, you know, but everything plays out how it's supposed to. So, yeah, I had to get this out and I had to record a video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, honey. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to see what I'm all about. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.